Hey everyone, this is Apera, and this is the first episode of the Case Closed Podcast. Today I'm here with my friend, the Shadow Detective. Let him introduce himself.
Hi, how's everybody? I'm Shadow. Nice to meet all of you. And is that how you pronounce it? Apera?
Yeah, it's derived from the term from the alcohol sherry. So I don't know how I found this, but it was a couple years ago, and I was just googling for things that were close to sherry, I'm like, if I were to have an organization name, what would it be? Just out of curiosity, and I came across Apera because uh, I think it was in a few places like Australia and Spain and stuff like that. They didn't use the word sherry. They used Apera and other words. There was one other word I can't think of, but they still use it to this day. So Apera is kind of like a very lost term, and I adopted it. And when I was making a new thing, I'm like, well, since I lost my other one that had like 2,500 subscribers, I was just like, well, you know what? I'm not doing a bridge story this time. I'm going to do a podcast. I'm like, if I do a podcast, what name should I give myself? And it snapped back into me, and I'm like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. But to give some brief backstory on who Shadow is, we were kind of rivals back in the early days when we were getting into Case Closed, and I was trying to convince him to catch up, and we were like Harley Hartwell or Hatchery Hedgie type thing. We would just always butt heads. I'd be calling him a Class B detective, myself Class A, and we'd mess around like that. And I eventually called him one day. I said, you know what, you could be a Class A detective, but I'm a Class S. And so we just kind of always had this bit of a detective rivalry between each other. So I thought he would be the perfect person to have on for the first episode. So I think I usually make bullet points for these, but I got a bit lazy, so we're going in pretty blind. But I know one thing that I do want to touch on, because since it's the first episode, I want people to know about me in this sense. And one of the things I want to go over is how we got into Case Closed. What's the story behind that? So I just like a nice little icebreaker is what I like to think. So I don't know if you want to go first or if I should go first on the story of how we got into Case Closed.
No, it's fine. I'm okay with going first.
Okay.
I remember it pretty easy of how I got into it.
All right.
Let's see. I remember it. Let's see. This is just when I was transitioning, going into high school. So it's before that. So I just left middle school, and I was currently on vacation, visiting some family in England.
Okay.
And it was since I was young then, I was pretty bored with the place since there was really nothing to do, and it was totally different from how I usually live my life here in the city. I'm from New York, so it's a pretty busy, loud, interesting place. So compared to the quiet of the cul-de-sac life my family over there in England lives daily, it was pretty different, kind of slow. It wasn't really much my style, so I was pretty much trying to do anything I could to get myself entertained. And I don't remember how I found it, but I've always seen not ads, but videos for Case Closed, but at the time I didn't know there was an English dub for it, so it was always Detective Conan. And me, who was always into because I'm very much into detective kind of stories, novels, games, and all that kind of sense, I pretty much gravitate towards it. And that was also around the time where I started playing the Bruce Layton games, which is kind of also like a detective video game.
Yeah, I was just thinking yesterday. I'm like, oh yeah, he was into Layton, and I remember that you saying Layton should come to Smash.
Yes, that was definitely definitely around the same time where I got into both of these things. Roughly around the same time, which is odd. Anyways, I got really knee deep into it because I started from the beginning, and I didn't notice at the time how long the series spanned. Because I was thinking, oh, this is just a quick, simple fix, nothing like a few seasons couldn't handle. No, this is something like that can easily rival One Piece if it hasn't already. Which I'm surprised that it's not, because it was not even considered part of the big three.
Right.
Because like this is going for like when did this series start in Japan?
It started in 1994 as a manga, and it was televised in. Okay, wait, I can reword that, and I probably might clip the other part out. It was serialized in 1994 for manga, and it was televised in 1996 for television release in Japan, and so 1996 is when it started. And then you had a company in Singapore that actually cast it out for an English dub in 2003. And Funimation required the rights, I guess, in 2003 too, but like towards the end, and they aired in May of 2004. So our first introduction in the United States, at least, because most of the episodes are lost in terms of the Singapore dub. Like, you can only find the Singapore opening and closing on the internet. There is another community out there who actually got in contact with the guy who did the Singapore dub, and he's like restoring some of the episodes because the guy would bring home like the one that still had timestamps and stuff on it. But we got ours in 2004, and that was by Funimation. So, if that answers your question.
All right, yeah. So definitely, like, this series is definitely as old as I am. Mm-hmm. So like, yeah. So like, I'm currently 23 years old. So like, this is like either has a few months ahead of me, or like we are exactly the same.
And I'm turning 23 this year too.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So this thing is old. So like, even One Piece like kind of has it like because it's also like around the same age. Yeah. The anime is currently going to what, like 900 something episodes at this point in time.
We literally within the next 6 months, if that, no more than 7, we are hitting 1,000 episodes. The only reason why I say why I'm increasing the number by a possible to a 7 is because of the situation that's going on in the world right now. With everything being on a hiatus, it could push that back. But like, we will have 1,000 episodes, and that's just, it blows my mind at that point. And the part that I can't take what he says to heart. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Gosho Aoyama so much, genius man. And I don't know if you know this, but a lot of the cases that he does, he actually tries them in real life to make sure that they work. So when you think, could you kill someone with rocks, fishing wire, and a sock all the way across the street? He's done it. So it's not like, that might be a bit of a... he says like 90% of the stuff that he does in these cases, he tries it to see if it even works. And unlike the programs like NCIS and stuff like that, the police won't talk to them because they don't care. So some of their stuff can be a little bit inaccurate, a little bit whatever, but with this, the police love him. And they will like gladly talk to him all day long and be like, hey, this. And I mean, hey, when you got statues, your own town, your own airport, your own bus station, someone's got to get you the connections. And the one thing I can't believe before I let you get back to the rest of your story is Gosho, a few years ago, I think I Googled it, I think he's turning 57 or 58 this year or something like that. So, I mean, he's gone up and lied to us, but... He said that he wanted to end the series when he turned Agasa's age. Agasa's 52. So, that's a huge lie because that's been years since. But when something makes this kind of money, it's kind of hard to just say, okay, we're going to put an end on this. And he's had a lot of health issues, which I'm sure pushed a lot of things back. But he wants to end, he says, he said this in 2019. He says that Volume 100 is a good place to leave off, is what he thinks. We're on volume 98. So, like, 2020, 2021, no later than 2022, we would have the end of the series, which mind boggles me because we've been in this road for so long. But I'll let you finish up exactly your final thoughts on getting into the series.
It kind of baffles me now that you said that.
Yeah.
That Japan is okay with a literal almost murderer. Like, yeah, I want to try, like, potentially killing somebody, to see if this works and put it in my animal.
But see, the way that he does it, I'm sure it might be a dummy, or he might just see if it'll go across the street. But I mean, like, he learned the tape thing with the door by himself. Like the case with the key under the water. Was it a key? I don't remember. But like, they hit a body like under like a fish tank or something in one of the episodes, and no one saw it in the pool. It was like this. I don't really remember the case all that much off the top of my head, but it's just like some of these like intricate cases are just like, would that really work? Is that really a thing? And most of the time he does it before even putting these cases, and it makes me always think like, how twisted could your mind be to come up with half of this stuff?
You will be twisted if you remembered all of these cases, because I don't even remember half of these things.
I don't. And so like, I remember a lot of the plot points, and sometimes I rewatch them, sure, but like, there are times where I'll go back to like either anime original or just it might be part of the manga file, but it might just be like a random case that has really nothing to do with the story, but it might eventually, because of he attended this case, then this happened, type thing. And sometimes I go watch those episodes because you don't rewatch them that much, and with so many cases, you're just like, I don't remember this. Who is the killer? Like, and that's always fun when you run into a rewatch like that and you just don't remember.
Mostly like all the cases, pretending like a majority of them have all the same kind of like theme to them, or like same kind of like whodunit thing.
Yeah.
And it's pretty easy to guess, or no, it's pretty easy. It's more like it's fun guessing. Who's petty enough to do this crime?
Because
week.
I mean, you gotta admit, half the time you don't know who the hell it is till he says it. Like, sometimes you can have a good guess, but even sometimes, like, when you do guess right, you're still like, okay, that's not the reason why I guessed it, but at least I got the right person. He's just brilliant that way, but a lot of the earlier cases I've noticed, because, I really enjoy the Funimation dub, and that's how I prefer to watch it, that I've noticed, like, a lot of this feels samey, but at the same time, it's roughly after season 6 is when stuff gets to be really unique. Like, I think the whole series is unique, the whole premise is unique, and that's what drew in the fan base with the dub even at the time, because it was just, there was nothing like it, and there still isn't anything like it. Even if 1 through 6 can be a little bit samey at times, it's always different. Like, there's still nothing to this day that could even compare to those 5 seasons, the first 5 seasons.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Before you go on a rant there, I finished my thing, so let's start. Like, how did you get involved with this series?
Okay. So you want to, before you finish, how you fully like
No.
Okay.
You.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, you're next.
So I'm about to roast our little friend here, which I don't want to do, but I'm gonna have to do it because it's part of the story. So I was going through a rough transition within my life. At the time. When I started, it was either the summer of 2012 or... Yeah, it had to be the summer of 2012. So, originally, it was living with my mom, my sister, and myself. And my grandmother, my mom's side, she was just like, I would like, can you move in with me or whatever? It'd be easier because she at one point, before we even moved here to the place that we were, she had a case of sleep apnea, and so she couldn't walk anymore correctly. And she's like, it'd be easier for everything, and you would save money, this is that. I'm like, okay, so we moved there, and I guarantee you life would be very different if we never moved at that point, because it's just been a downhill since, and that was a very long time ago. I think it was like 2010, 2011, roughly when that happened. And it was not even a few months later, she had to go to the hospital or whatever, and my uncle moved in, to take over the other half, and my mom was paying him the rest of the rent, and he wasn't paying the rent. He was just taking that money, doing whatever. Great. So we had to leave, and long story short, so now we're somewhere else, and so we didn't have internet at the time, and we didn't have cable because we just moved. You wouldn't have that stuff if you moved. So, okay. So my friend Alex comes over, and this is the part that I feel bad about, because I didn't have an official copy of Case Closed at the time. Now, granted, I did support the series afterwards because I wanted to continue, so I don't want people to think I'm part of the downfall. But granted, when I got into it, Funimation stopped. They didn't dub anything after 2010 anyway, so granted, I think I'm free of any judging there. But, so my friend, he came over, and he's just like, hey, I got a bunch of...
I'm surely not.
Right? And he goes, I got a bunch of anime for you. I'm supporting this new dub, by the way, that's coming out. Like, I'm buying every DVD, every anything. But
they're gonna continue with the dub?
Yeah, there's a new dub out. I don't know if you know that, but I'm gonna get back into that after this. So, he put a bunch of anime on my computer. Now, granted, I've never watched anime a day in my life. All right, so he's putting all this anime on my computer. He's like, would you like this? And he describes it to me, and I'm like, yes or no. And he would move on. And he would actually listen to me. If I said no, he would just be like, okay, I won't put it on. And he's going down the list. He put Death Note on, Darker Than Black, which Darker Than Black's really freaking good for anybody who doesn't know. A few other ones I can't think off the top of my head. Darker Than Black and Death Note are the two that are going to stick out here. And he goes, how about Case Closed? And I'm just like, I don't like cop shows. I don't like cops. And now, granted, I'm sitting here with my 3 degrees I just got from college, and one of them's in criminal justice, so I just thought it was funny. And that's all because of Conan as well. And so anyway, I'm just like, no, I'm not into cop things. I'm not into detectives or mysteries even. Now I love Sherlock Holmes and everything. So it all comes down to it, and I'm just like, nah, I'm good. And he goes, oh, no, but I think you're going to like it. I saw it like 3 or 4 times on Adult Swim, and he's like, I thought it was really interesting. I think you like it. And I'm like, nah, I'm good. And he's like, no, I'm going to put it on there anyway. And so he puts it, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll delete it when he leaves. That was my intention. Okay. So he put the rest of the anime on my computer, whatever. So I watched Death Note. A little bit of Death Note. I'm like, okay, this seems interesting. I'm going to save it for a little bit later. Then I started Darker Than Black. And I watched maybe like 3 or 4 episodes or something. Then I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And then I'm like, I kind of feel like I need something a little bit of different pace. And I look at Case Closed, and okay, so I see all these thumbnails of the videos. And I'm like, oh, he's got big ass ears. I'm just like, he looks so fucking dumb. And now I think it's iconic, and it's kind of, but I judged the hell out of this character. And I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna watch the first episode, see how I feel. And he shrink, and I'm like, okay, does he get his body back? Is this like the whole plot? There's only 5 seasons, it can't be that bad. And so I watched. I'm like, okay, does he get his body back? And I'm looking at my other thumbnails, and it goes like Jimmy Kudo, Jimmy Kudo, Jimmy Kudo, Jimmy Kudo, Conan, 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 Jimmy Kudo. I'm like, is he going back and forth? What? And I was confused. So I just wanted to see, for the shrinking purposes, if there's anything going on here. And then I started falling in love with the cast. And then after the cast, then I started caring about the cases. And after the cases, the whole thing. It was a whole slide going down. And I was like, okay, you know what? It's 5 seasons. Let me do this. I binged that shit straight. All 5 seasons, besides going to school and homework and whatnot. So after I get down to the end and there's no more, I'm just like, I got maybe down to like the last 8 episodes that were in there. And Funimation did this weird thing where they did a few episodes out of order. So I thought, when I got to I got like 8 episodes or so, and I skipped to the last one because I was just too impatient. I was enjoying myself. I loved every minute of it. But I was just curious, does he get his body back? And I'll go back and watch the old ones that I skipped over. I'm just really curious how this ends. And there was no ending. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, okay, maybe because some episodes were out of order before, and I'm like, well, then maybe this is why. Funimation did this weird thing. I'm going to explain also why Funimation screwed Conan in the biggest way. And it was also Cartoon Network's fault. It's not just them. But anyway, what happened was, I go back and I watch the other ones, and there's still no ending. I'm like, what the hell? Did they really end that on like a cliffhanger? I'm like, well, maybe there's a 6th season. Google Case Closed Season 6. And it comes up, Season 6. I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. I'll just find a way to download Season 6. My ass.
Japanese, wasn't it?
No, I couldn't find it. And so I'm like, okay. So I just type in Case Closed Seasons or something, and I was like looking for download, and it said season 15 through current. I'm like, what the hell? I click on this, and at the time there was 24 seasons, 23 seasons, something like that. And I'm like, there's now 29 seasons, going on 29 seasons. And I'm just like, what the hell? And I'm like, nah. I was so mad that I didn't watch the show for like 3 months. I was like, I can't do this. I can't watch anime in Japanese. I can't. It's not a thing, a capability I have. And I started season 6. It was really season 5. It was really season 5 because Funimation didn't finish season 5. And so I'm just like, okay, I can do this. I watched episode 131, and I'm like, this doesn't seem right. There's like this new character and everything. I'm like, okay, something has to be wrong. So now I'm Googling, and I'm just like, oh, because Funimation broke up episodes too. So this is really episode 124 that I have to be on. So I watch 124, I get to the Hybrid shit, and I'm like, oh, okay, I like this Hybrid character. And that's what was my little bit of boost of motivation to continue watching. Because to be honest, if Hybrid wasn't in it, and it wasn't giving me that new dynamic, I probably would have said no and moved on. It was really hard for me, and I got into it, and here we are. I binge watched practically. I had a little rocky start, I'm not gonna lie, with season 6 with getting into it, but right after, let's say about season 7, I binge watched season 7 all the way to like episode 744, something like that, and then at that time I was caught up, and then I would watch like a normal human being once a week, and every once in a while, I'll let myself slip for a few months, and then I'll do a short mini binge of 12 to 14 episodes. So I'm currently caught up right now, and that's my story. And it was always funny because it was something I was intentionally going to delete when he left. And so me and him always have a joke. He's tried to get into it 3 other times, but he's just thinks it's too daunting for 1,000 episodes. I even one time made him a list of all important cases and everything even, and then he asked me just recently for the thing again after doing this 3 years ago for him, and I'm just like, well, there's been 200 episodes since, so I've only got you up to the early 800s. Good luck with that. You can figure it out when you catch up, because I ain't doing it again. And I just recently found a canon list, but the canon list there are still episodes you can still skip in the canon list, so it's whatever. But that's my story of how I got into the series, and I just thought it was always so funny. And now, right before I let you jump back into exactly watching it and exactly what hooked you, what parts, and your impressions, because my impressions were just this kid he just got big ears. That was my whole thing watching almost through the first season. But I loved Richard. His amusement is what really got me through the first thing when I didn't care about the cases. I'd laugh at him being Yoko Okino and just be what's weighing heavily on your tender heart? And then Conan's like, oh, please, spare me. And that kind of humor is what got me to at least stick around, and I appreciate that early humor. And maybe I wouldn't have gotten into it if it was Japanese. I don't think I would have at all even touched it. But the one thing that the Funimation dub did that I could appreciate is the comedy and the natural feeling of these voices. No matter what you say or who you're going to put behind that microphone, there is nobody but Jerry Jewell that sounds more natural as Jimmy if he were to have an English voice. Or Shinichi, whatever the hell you want to call him. Almost everybody who will agree with you, whether they like the dub or not, they all agree on one thing. If Jimmy were to speak English, that's exactly what he would have sounded like. And a lot of people said they blamed the Funimation team. I would say I didn't think it was a problem, but if I was going to say it was a problem, you would want to blame Funimation. And the thing was, it was too Americanized. That was the problem. And everyone blamed Funimation for it. But I was like, you want to know what? Funimation actually did a pretty good job with the English names. So I thought. Jimmy and Shinichi both mean one truth. So that name translation works. Ran, if she were to come to the United States, her name actually would be Rachel. It translates to it. Richard was clever. I always thought, well, what was the deal with Richard? That's the only name that really sticks out and doesn't sound right as a perfect translated name. Dick is another word for detective, and Richard's also a dick. So it works. Richard, being a dick, that's where the name translation came from. And so, anyway, and Moore is also perfectly translated from Maori. So it was a perfect dub in that sort of sense. And everyone blamed Funimation, nah, it's Funimation's fault. I just recently learned it was Gosho that picked out these names. Which makes sense because I don't think Funimation could have done something that clever. Um, and so it was Gosho that pushed the Americanization on the series. And I think I know why he did it. Because he is an American fanatic. He likes American TV shows. He likes American sitcoms, stuff like that. Like a fun fact, Jodie Starling is actually based off Jodie Foster. And her character, Cherise I can't say the name right now. Cherise Starling, which is from Silent Night of the Lambs. And he mixed the two names together to make Jodie Starling. So that's another fun fact if you didn't know that. But this new English dub that's coming out, the only odd thing that I have about it is they did wait until Funimation let their rights to Mentante Conan expire. And when that expired, Netflix picked up some of the streaming rights, and it has the rarity of being 5 stars. There's not many things that are 5 stars on Netflix. And on Netflix, it is labeled under Case Closed. And it currently, I think it's some of the episodes from the 700s to 800 and something, I believe. I think it's only like 26 episodes, something like that. And then Crunchyroll has it, and it's currently sitting at a 4.5 stars out of 5. And it's been that way pretty much since the exception. It was every 14 days, I believe, that they would air an episode, and then it was every 7 days, and now it's like the day after Japan. So the series, like, in America right now is very good. It's getting excellent ratings. And I think what happened is, the weird thing is, it's not another company that's paying the license and saying, hey, I want to dub this and make profit. It is actually TMS Entertainment, the holding studio of the anime, is pushing it. They're paying for it. They are paying practically for an international dub. And they only released it behind closed doors. They dubbed movie 22. And they also dubbed movie 21, episode 1 remake, and they also, apparently, rumor has it, dubbed movie 20. And TMS Entertainment already said possibly a dub for movie 23 is coming out. So, but all this was done behind closed doors. All these movies were showed at like an anime expo panel. You have to get tickets if you don't get the tickets, and tickets sold out in 30 seconds. It was like 150 tickets, I believe. I could be wrong. I'm sure someone will correct me. But that was it. But movie 22 did for a short time air on this like Arabic server of some sort, and I somehow got my hands on it. And when I got my hands on it, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch this, and I'm gonna see if I hate it. The names are now it's new voice cast. The names are now the Japanese names. And I do feel like they pronounce like Takagi wrong, because I say Takagi, but they say Takagi, and maybe I just been hearing it wrong all these years. I don't know, but I think it's Takagi, like the other detective, but I could probably be wrong. It may just be.
You mean Oh wait. Okay.
He was. He was called Wilder in the dub.
I have not seen the dub except for like probably like one of the movies, but I know which one. You mean Takagi Keiji?
Yeah, and when they say that, I always heard Takagi, and I guess it's Takagi. So that's one that really pissed me off. I hate Dr. Agasa's voice. No offense to anybody. I think everybody else is fine. The only Conan sounds like Nier from Death Note, which I don't have a problem with that. The only problem I have with Conan sounding like Nier from Death Note is if they go back and do some of the earlier stuff, I think that they would only do like the canon episodes. If they do episodes, I could totally see them doing just the 24 movies and the 2 specials. I could totally just see that just being the thing. I don't know what they're gonna do with the rights and everything, but the one thing I just couldn't take about him sounding like Nier from Death Note is like if they go back and do the earlier stuff, like it's more faithful to the Japanese, because like Richard or Kogoro now sounds like a little bit like the Kogoro from the Japanese anime. A lot of these sound like their Japanese counterparts, except for Rand and Eerie. They both a little bit sound like their Funimation dub actors in some points, in some octaves when they hit. But Conan, it works, and like it sounds pretty faithful to the Japanese. He sounds like a badass. He sounds confident. But I'm also used to him like. And even in the earlier episodes, even when they remade episode 1, Conan sounds like a child in the sense of he knows how to act like a child and sound like a child. He doesn't display that confidence. Like, it's usually when he gets a criminal by himself and they go, "Who the hell are you?" And he goes, "Edagawa Conan, detective." Even in the English dub, he would get confident and sound more like an adult in those moments. But around Rachel or Ran or whatever, he could totally sound like a 6 or 7-year-old and have that squealy voice and everything. And especially when he goes like toilet, toilet, stuff like that. I can't see someone who already sounds like an adult cry like toilet like a baby. I don't see how it's gonna. I don't know how it's gonna work.
It's called acting.
Yeah, but it's gonna seem so forced, and we haven't seen any of the moments because they pulled from movie 22, which where Conan the whole time, even around Ran, is purposely trying to act like a badass, like, you know.
I don't remember that one. Which one was
Zero the Enforcer, and that's when Kogoro gets arrested, and she's calling Shinichi, being like, "I already called him, and he's not, you know, whatever," and he goes, "But we have Conan." And this is at the point.
Oh, I remember. Yeah. I think wasn't that one with Bourbon?
Yes.
And, yeah.
And this is like where she's already counting on Conan and being, you know, and Conan's pulling out his phone, taking pictures of the arrest. Like, he has knowledge to do this shit, being, you know. And I'm like, okay, that was a perfect role to show how faithful you could be to the Japanese, but it's just like, I don't know how this is going to work going backwards. And they're dubbing the movies backwards, too. They did movie 22, then they did movie 21, and then they did the remake of episode 1, and then I think that they claim that they're doing 20, now they're doing 23. So now they're going backwards and forward at airing, and I think that's going to be weird. I don't know what their process is, but Kogoro, this was shocking information, he's actually now, like, Karudara, oh my god, he sounds amazing, but back to Kogoro. Kogoro's now voiced by, Xander, I forgot his last name, but
Xander Mobus?
Yes, he's actually voiced by the person who voices Joker and the Super Smash Brothers Ultimate announcer.
Oh my god!
And I was like, "Holy shit!" He sounds good.
It's Joker.
Like, it's not Richard. All right, it's not. And I will always have a soft spot for Richard, but it's faithful to the Japanese, and he does a good job. My opinion. If there's anybody else that we had to have, I'm okay with it being him. So I watched movie 22, and it's pretty good. Now, granted, I'll buy movie 22 because it comes out in DVD, so I'm not being this, you know. But hey, and also in my defense, you weren't giving me the product. They did this in 2019. We still don't have it. They're just now on Right Stuff, which I will have linked in the description. You can buy the remake right now of episode 1 with the new English dub. And it comes out July 28th, but you can pre-order it for $19. Otherwise, it's $30. You can pre-order it on Amazon too, but on Amazon it is at the full $30 price. But you can buy it on Right Stuff, which is Discotek's main distributing service, and which Funimation uses them to Bang Zoom, which is the new dubbing studio that's being paid to actually dub this. Also uses them, and so Discotek, I guess what they did is they dipped their toe in the series because they took Lupin, and when they did Lupin, they were actually making a lot of money off Lupin, which they didn't think they were going to do, and they just said, okay, let's keep doing it. And I don't know if they picked up the Conan and Lupin crossovers, the two crossovers, if they did it because, oh, was this more Lupin content? Let's just do it. Or if it's, hey, let's try and do Conan. There was rumors of them looking at the series, I think it was 2017 or 2018, that they were looking into the Conan franchise. And the rumors were going in that. And if you actually look at the bottom of those two movies, very small, by the way, is the original Case Closed logo. And so, once again, probably for copyright reasons, but it's very strange because you would have had to acquire some form of right, and I don't know if that was like some red herrings of this whole thing becoming what it is now, but I also highly recommend buying those DVDs too. But right now, as of this recording, it's either number 6 or number 5 in the best-selling list right now on Right Stuff, which is amazing for the series. So people are really supporting it right now, and I bought myself a few copies myself, give them away as gifts and stuff for people who wouldn't want to buy it but do like the series. So I did that because I want this to succeed, because even if it is just the 24 movies, I say 24 plus really, because we don't know if there's going to be another one, and the 2 specials, because I could see they already did 1 special, which is the episode 1 remake, and I could see them doing that, the disappearance case of Conan Edogawa, because that was a big special that aired around the same time as episode 1 remake, so I could see them doing that one as well. And we'll go from there, but since everything's going on Blu-ray, you could only fit like 4 or 5 episodes on a disc, and Blu-rays are expensive, and they don't do DVDs anymore on Right Stuff, so I don't know if they do this series, if we're just going to get like really important episodes, and they'll be like, these 4 cases on this DVD, and then you buy the next one or something. I don't know. I feel if they do anything with this series, it's going to be a digital only release, and the movies and specials will also come out on DVD. But I don't know. It's a big thing. So anybody who's watching, go and support the series. Just buy it if you want the dub, and that's pretty much it. So I don't know if you want to make any comments on that or finish up your story on.
No, I just have like a few things to like mention, because you talked a lot about stuff that I currently didn't know.
Yeah.
Series.
Which, by the way, I didn't know any of this until recently. Mind you, this was all in the inner workings since 2019, at least with the dub. I'm not saying about the rights, and that I'm sure goes back. But as of the dub happened almost a year ago today for movie 22, and I did not hear about it until ending of last month, and I think that's when I got my hands on the movie as well. I think it might have been end of March. I don't remember. It was the end of March or the beginning of April or something when I heard about it, and I got my hands on the movie and watched it for myself. And I'm just like, and it took me 4 hours to find the freaking thing after finding all this out. It was real secretive, and I do have a video on my Facebook page where I took the opening, since it's hard to find it for anybody. I don't want to get copyright stricken, and also I want to just make a fun project with it. I took some tools, I dubbed and scrubbed the movie intro, and I
dubbed and scrubbed.
Yeah, because I had to scrub away the music and stuff, and I pieced together a bunch of the movie intros together, and then I took exclusively just the voices and placed the voices over all these movie intros. And, in the correct spot, when you go, I'm Shinichi Kudo, I'd have that layered over. And then I threw Countdown to Heaven's opening music over it. And I pieced it all together, and that's on my Facebook page. So if you wanted to hear the new voices, and even if you already heard the new voices, you could also still see a unique little intro with it that's more animated, because they were all done in the manga version, like how the new movies do it. And so it's nice to see. What if they were to go back to the older movies? Like, I think they stopped doing that after like movie like 9 or 10 or so. It might have been movie 18 when they started doing the still shots.
Mm-hmm.
So you can you can check that in the description. But what kind of things are you thinking about right now?
What I'm thinking definitely is clearly that like I am lacking in the fan department, since I knew nothing, barely anything in the English dub, since I predominantly known it only for as Detective Conan side, other than the Case Closed, because I learned that much like as a continuing watcher.
Okay. You're breaking in and out a bit.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Let's see. I will say that I do have many of the things I've seen in the series. Some of the characters. And I gotta say, like, some of these things.
Yeah.
Really?
You're really breaking in and out. It's like every other word.
Okay, hold on a second. How's that better?
Yeah, it's better.
All right. Yeah. So I do have like some varying opinions on the characters and plot lines
Mm-hmm.
that we have seen thus far, because what pretty much like gets me like motivated to keep watching, even though like I started probably like early or late I want to say 2010, 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Was pretty much because like I'm such a big fan of detective kind of thing, so I was pretty much drawn into the mystery aspect of the whole show.
Because what I'm thinking is, in terms of, like, they showed, like, the show was probably going to end multiple different times, and he says he already has the ending. My thought
Mhm.
is, I think he came up with the ending either around the Clash of Red and Black arc, or the arc where he goes into the London case with what was her name, like Mariva Glass or something like that. She was the tennis queen.
Okay.
I think it's around that time is when they came up with the new story plot or something, because a most recent case that's in the manga now, it reverts back to that case is when the whole Mary debacle started, was right around that time, because they reflect back on it, and in the original case they weren't part of it, so
Yeah.
I think that this is like all kind of like accumulating together. I don't, because like I said, if he was
Hmm.
planning on ending at 52 and he's now 58 or 57, something like that, it's just like I believe his birthday's in June. So that's a whole nother topic for another day. But like we're coming towards an end haul, and it's definitely like the most like you said, the story is just now getting to be the new storylines. There's what's keeping you in it and invested, because they're really interesting.
What you call it? Yeah, I was always pretty much interested in it, because like I do want to see how it all ends, like whether
Exactly.
or not he does like return back to being 16 or whatever. But what really kills it for me, because because it's an anime or
Mm-hmm.
a very popular running series, is all the filler.
Yeah.
Or actually, no, I really can't call it filler. It's, well, not all of it.
Well,
It's just like more of the more of all the cases
mm-hmm.
that just always there, and they're repeating some of the same. I want to call them tropes, but the same kind
Yeah.
of crime or petty revenge kind of scheme thing. Because where I remember the one of the one of the latest episodes, one of these it was a three-parter. It involved like those policewomen, like and the murderer.
Oh yeah, that was actually the last episodes that we got. Those were
Yeah,
yeah, okay. Was that not a? I think that was a four-parter, wasn't it?
no, three-parter.
Okay, but I know exactly what you're
Yeah,
talking about. Yeah, that's
yeah,
okay.
yeah, that one. And it had a really cool concept of like who like who the murder might be, because the murder in question, I'm not gonna I
Yeah,
don't want to I don't want to spoil it, but like the murderer had a very like very justified grudge in targeting these policewomen who were directly involved with the reason why like he wanted to kill them.
yeah,
And like and he was definitely it's definitely doing it in a very I can't say in a
yeah.
cool way, but like the reason why he was doing it was I would say very interesting, and how they present the mystery of like and how Conan in the end like arrives at the answer of like who it
Mm-hmm.
is yes, pretty creative, but the reason behind it was because of, as must always of the killers in the series, is because either they hated the person, petty revenge,
Right.
or
I
like
was looking at a meme. It was like the other day, but I just saw it again recently today, and it was just like so like like that one SpongeBob meme, like where the fish like opens up the door and he goes, "Rev up those fryers, because I am sure hungry," or whatever. And it was just like the caption of the photo was uh killer mastermind have been planning this murder for 5 years, and tonight's the night for execute murder. And then the thing, the door, opens and it says Conan, Ran, and Kogoro. Our car broke down. Do you mind if we spend the night?
Oh yes.
And I'm like, oh yes.
Another trope they keep doing. Like they keep getting themselves involved into these mysteries, like accidentally. Like, oh no, like look at this lovely, not family vacation we're having in this very lovely, peaceful location, and then out of nowhere, oh my god, someone has died. I was like, wow.
But if there's,
I can't even go on a vacation without having to a murder.
But if there's one thing I can respect about Gosho is somehow his mind works like a machine. Because he's not always invested in the movie projects. Like, he works on them in the sense of, like, supervises some things, but if you watch the movie openings, he gets hit with a pipe, he gets hit with a bat, he gets hit with multiple different things the back of the head when Jin hits him. And it's never consistent. But Gosho he keeps everything consistent in this series. I don't know how he does it. Like, someone, I'm not going to once again spoil, but once you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. In the 500s, someone dies, and then 200 episodes they want to bring that character back from the dead, and like no one's gonna know who the hell that character is if they're just jumping in.
I will say that the movies are pretty spectacular for in a movie sense, because like actually feels dynamic.
And if you want to bring one trope that you're like, oh, Conan always has these like weird tropes, like like the going to someone's house because your car broke down and there was a murder. I didn't notice this until probably like a movie. I don't know what movie I want to say it was, but he has an epic soccer ball kick at the end of every single movie. There might be one. I don't.
You're gonna have to be very specific, because like he has an epic soccer kick in almost every movie.
Yeah, no, I mean like it's always at the end, and it's always at the climax, and it's always just like But I can't think of Raven Chaser's kick scene. I know that he does the helicopter thing with the his suspenders, but I don't know if he actually kicked a soccer ball in that one. But I can guarantee you money on it. Every other movie, every single one. Maybe movie 2 might be an exception. Movie 2 is a bit fuzzy right after me. But every other movie besides those two, I can guarantee you there was a soccer ball kick in every last one of them. And he shouts "Go" very loudly for like an extended period of time. He yells it.
Yeah, pretty much, because like freaking Conan's soccer kick is basically his Naruto Sharingan.
And and I'm just like, Conan's always. I was trying to.
I mean, no, crap. Rasengan. My bad. Someone is going to flame me so hard that I said Sharingan when like I said for the wrong character. Jeez.
Someone's gonna flame me because I don't watch Naruto. But like I've successfully everybody I have ever tried to convince to watch the series, I've gotten them to watch it, even if I had to force it to them, like force feed it to them. They eventually started watching it on their own. But I was talking to my one friend, which I might have her on a non-Conan themed podcast, or maybe a Conan one later. Who knows? But fingers crossed.
Yeah, definitely.
But I try to convincing her. I'm just like, this stuff is like, it's not like any of the mysteries you've ever seen. He actually tests out these like strange things to make sure that they work. And I forgot where I was going with this, and I told her. I said that, like, everything's like most real quick before I lose the train of thought. I was like, everything is realistic. I'm like, the only thing I'm gonna warn you right now that is not realistic is when he kicks the soccer balls in the movie. Because I said, if you can find anything unrealistic, you come to me. But I was just like, but that don't. Every single time I see that, I'm like, there's no way in hell he could have successfully did that. Even if his shoes couldn't make him kick that powerfully, he's not doing that in the air.
Yeah, because gravity and science. That totally
right,
that is not how that works. And I'm friends with like several science majors, or like people like who are going into a scientific field. They'll tell you like that's total bullshit, my guy. But we can't spend. Let's just like quoting the wrongdoings of anime.
Right.
We would definitely be here all night. If that was possible, so we're not going to do that.
So I give it the anime trope of saying, you know what, it's okay because it's anime. But otherwise, the show is not anime at all. Like I feel like it stands on a decent TV show as itself. and that it doesn't feel like an anime necessarily.
I mean, except for the main character, pretty much any of these things could definitely be happening.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, and I'm just like, and there is some, and I'm surprised. I don't think he even made this intentionally, but there are some scientific facts to like him shrinking actually making sense. Like, when you get older, you start to shrink, and that's because your cell count isn't as strong as it used to be, and everything else like that. And when your cells shrink, you shrink. And the drug is centered around cell destroying your cells. I can't think of the word. It's a long word, and my tongue, I get a lot of tongue twisters. So, but I mean, it kind of works. And in real life, I know that in the show, some rats shrink, and Sherry's experimental table. And there was this article a few years ago when I was at an anime con. I was just reading in my in bed, reading at the hotel, just reading my phone, and there was actually a drug that ended up shrinking a rat in experimenting, and I'm like, oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
But
what you call it? I do eventually want to get to like talking about like the characters in the show, and as well as some of the plot points, because
and I totally also feel at some point I'm gonna like especially once stuff's getting more serious, I want to start doing reviews of episodes too. So if you want to feel more than welcome to come on and we do like a review episode of it, let's say there's a 3-parter or 2-part or something, we'll do like, I'll make up a number, 284 and 285. Those episodes could be shit for all I know because they're not out yet. I'm at 985 and 984. Let's say those are like, a 2-parter. Like, they could be awful. But just as an example, because I totally wanted to start reviewing some episodes and be more than happy to have you on for those. But
that sounds cool. But like, I'm not doing every episode.
Oh no, I would only do the big ones, especially since almost 70% of this season has been TV originals. And I was actually doing some statistics between TV originals and manga cases that are not. No, this is even including the cases that are manga that aren't even important. If you just take all the TV originals, by the time we get to episode 1000, the series will be 48% filler content. At episode 1000, it will be 48% of the series is filler content. And that is mind-boggling. It's like almost half the series is just filler. So you could successfully, in under 500 episodes, watch the series.
That is the price of... That's definitely the price you pay when you have to like redo Christmas about 4 times in a row.
And it's only still been 1 year.
and somehow technology keeps advancing.
I love it. Like, that was my one thing. And I know we're way off topic now, but this is the number one case that I hate to this day. Like, look, there are cases that I hate and cases that I purposely did. There's like maybe 4 or 5 cases I never downloaded because I just really hated them a lot. But I practically own every single episode, every movie, everything. And anyway, there was this one episode, and the murder weapon was a selfie stick. I lost my shit.
I remember that.
I lost it. I absolutely lost it. And I said to myself, I might have downloaded the episode. I don't know. But I was so mad. I was like, fine, you know what? Your technology could slowly progress. Because Conan still has like that crappy ass like smartphone where it's like, it's like your first smartphone that you ever really had in your life type smartphone.
Yeah, definitely.
So I was just like, you want to know what? I could say, I know that the show really started in 1994, but I can sit here and pretend like it started in 2004 and just say that he was slowly getting into that transition a little bit above a BlackBerry and, live life comfortably. But the second that you brought in a selfie, I was so mad. I probably spent at least a week have it pop into my head and just get pissed for no reason, just being like, why a selfie stick? And
I will definitely get into like later like why like the fact that a year has passed and yet every holiday has gone on probably at least 3 times.
It was like, I think it was,
it just bothers me.
I think it was 772 is ran, and I quote, I can't believe it's only been a year since me and Shinanchi were standing here. And I'm just like, it's been 20 years because at the time it was the 20th anniversary, and I was just like, no, reality check ran. It has been 20 years.
Same thing we can say for Rashkatcher.
It's been exactly it's been exactly canonically at the 20th anniversary mark. So I'm not sure what it's done since then, but I did the math. It was exactly and now I'm having memory issues. It was exactly either from episode 1 to episode 772, the aquarium case. Up to that point, it was only a year and either 2 or 3 weeks that passed, because it was on episode 2 or 3 is when he was making a recap saying it's only been 3 weeks since I met the Men in Black or whatever. So if you take that 2 or 3 weeks, because I don't remember which one it was, because that math was done a long time ago, and then you added a year on it, it was like a year. And...
I don't even want to calculate time and dates in this, because it's already just confusing.
And it's just like, I don't know how much time has passed since the aquarium case, but it's just like the hard of believing that it's only been like a year and change. It just you know, even if you follow the series canonically, okay, and you say there's only 500 episodes, I would still have a hard time believing a year.
Following a canon hurts me as an anime fan now, because
there's no canon besides plot in terms of Men in Black plot.
Yeah, so luckily it's plot happens when it wants to happen.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the show, and I always will, but it's just it'll always be my favorite show of all time. But
anyways, let's talk about them characters.
Okay, let's get into that. Any favorite characters that you have?
Well, let's go in order here from main characters.
Okay, so let's touch. Should we do Conan or Jimmy first then, or Shinichi?
Doesn't matter who you call it. They're both the same person.
Yeah, but I mean, like, which one do you want to like talk about his adults form first and feel like how you felt about that character first, or do you want to talk about like the smaller version?
We can definitely talk about him as a whole, because he's literally the same person.
I get that, but I mean, like, I don't know how to explain it, but every time that Jimmy comes back into the show, you get this feeling of it's just like, wow, he's back, and you're like, yes, like he's been with us this whole time, but like there's a hype excitement behind it, and that might be just me, but like
I truly don't get that feeling. I'll tell you that, because what you call it?
And see, I never had that feeling with the dub, and that's the one thing that I feel like this dub should do too, because I think it was brilliant, and now I don't know if it was Gosho's idea or Funimation's idea, seeming that it was Gosho who pushed the Americanization. Was I'm curious if in the English dub, whenever Conan thinks, he thinks in Jimmy's voice. So when he thinks, he's thinking in his adult voice. So if he's ever thinking in his head, he goes, "Oh, how did this wet spot get here?" He's thinking in his head, in his adult voice, and I always loved that. And they maybe did it like 1 or 2 times in the Japanese version. And that's just one thing I really thought the dub could have, the new dub could have taken from, but they didn't do that. And I kind of like lost, like, ever since then, I lost the feeling of it feeling like the same person. Like, yes, I at the end of the day, I know he's Shinichi. When something bad happens and his identity can get leaked, you're just like, which is happening in the series. It's just like, I just don't feel that connection unless if that's happening. Otherwise, whenever she's like, I miss Shinichi, this is that, like, yeah, I get it, it's him, but you just don't feel it. But when he comes back in, like, flesh and blood, it's like, oh my god, Shinichi's back, I can't wait for this episode type thing. And it maybe because it's so interesting to see Shinichi actually be, like, in some, like, realty, because, granted, when Shinichi's not there, to Ran, he's not there, and doesn't treat it as such. And that's why it feels, to me at least, why it's so exciting when Shinichi comes, and that's why they feel like 2 separate people at times.
Okay, I will tell you, from my viewing of it, I don't feel that same kind of hype for when Jimmy comes back. physically comes back into the anime.
Okay.
Because even though like yes, he is Conan, it's more of like because like since I watched predominantly watched the sub version, yes, he's always there with him.
And real quick on my train of thought, maybe the reason why I feel that way is because I had that voice ripped from me. Because I was so used to hearing it in every episode, and for 5 seasons straight. So maybe that's why. I don't know. I just know that when he's not physically there, I don't necessarily always feel that attachment. Like at the end of the day, yes, I know it's him, but I don't. I'm not hyped that it's him.
Okay. Well, I guess for me it's because of like how Japan originally handles like Shinichi's appearance.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like they always keep him like like to, like visual cameos or like where like he's plastered all over the openings and the endings.
Yeah.
So where it's like, yeah, he's still here. So like there's so like I never felt the point whenever like he basically comes back into the anime. He was like, oh wow, Shinichi's here. He's gonna save the day.
Right though.
You know? He's always been there. It's just like he's trapped in a 6-year-old's body. And on time I get close to that feeling is whenever like he's like along with the bad guy and caught them red-handed.
Right.
Let's look to the only time I ever felt like he's definitely gonna make everything right and better.
And now while we're on Shinichi, and we're talking about Ran in some form, I think it'll be perfect to transition into Ran as the next character talked about.
I said how Japan plasters his face everywhere in the openings and the endings, and sometimes sprinkles them here and there into the episodes. As a like the like you said before in the dub, like how like he's the monologue voice.
Yeah,
he's still kind of the monologue voice in the original version, but it's not like as prominent as Conan is, because he is the face of the show, so they're gonna pretty much predominantly show Conan like how he's gonna solve everything, of like how Jumi's gonna solve everything, because the whole point of the show is to show that how kids can be smart too and be helpful. But so like arrogant asshole Jimmy is not gonna be like tell the police like, oh hey, like this guy's clearly suspicious because he's suspicious.
And see, like the police listen to him now somewhat. In the newer episodes, they're more like, oh, well, give him a chance to speak or something. Before it was never that. They still sometimes tell him this isn't a place for kids. So I like how they go back and forth, like pick a lane, McGuire. But
that's only because of what you call it. Who was trying to like steal the spotlight, because he's still lauded and famed as the sleeping detective or whatnot. So they're only doing that now is because this kid who's been like in almost every murder mystery detective case. We should totally hear what he has to say now, since like he's been here. At this point, we should just hire him.
Right though. And I was rewatching The Case of Red and Black, actually, just recently, and the FBI, this blew my mind, because at the time they didn't know he was Shinichi, and they still don't. I think Jody's catch the closing on. I know Akiya Subaru knows. But at this time, Akai didn't even know. And the weird thing is, in the Case of Red and Black, they were willing to use a civilian, Conan, as like practically a wiretap, and use him as to investigate the 3 suspects.
Well, technically, because he did himself want to get involved.
Well, no, I know, but I mean, they at first they're just like, no, we can't have a kid do it, but then they just went along with it, did it anyway. And even in the later episodes, even after like Akai knows and whatnot, like in the movies it's different. I get it because they're not canon. And he's always like, "Come on, boya, let's do this." But even like in the more recent episodes, he's just like, "No, this is too dangerous for kids. You can't be involved." And it's just like, what? But I don't know. But since we're talking about identity and stuff, I think Ran is the next place to go. And the one thing that I can't stand
before that, before we get to it, because you see his identity there, I do want to, and you mentioned earlier about how you felt triumphant when Jimmy came back physically in the anime.
Yeah.
There were other times where like that did happen too, but like that wasn't really him because who else? He was being played by
Hattori Heiji
another
Kaido
person.
Kid. Yeah.
Pretty much.
And I still have hype moments for those, but not as much. I never really liked Hattori, really. I probably didn't start liking him until around the Jody case when Jody and and they went to their house and they were seeking through her bathroom. It was around that time I really started to like Hattori. Was around the time when I started to like him. Because I didn't like Sonoko at all. I used to skip episodes with her in it in the Japanese when I started the Japanese, and I did eventually go back and rewatch those, but I couldn't stand her. Now it's like it's okay. I'm sure I'm gonna hurt somebody's feeling because I'm sure that's somebody's favorite character, but it was not having. I didn't mind her in the dub. Like I said, I just had a rocky road of getting into the sub, and I would do anything I could to make it more bearable.
Okay, yeah. When we get to Heiji later, I'll tell you like the things why I kind of have a hate and dislike kind of thing with him. But only for a certain reason, and like also for Kaito Kid when we get to him also.
All right. So this is Ran. And I feel like the reason why I transitioned into this because we brought up the words identity and Conan's real identity. I mean, granted, she is the second main character if you really look at the overall arcing plot, if there was one that was consistent. I think the show was only meant to be like 1 or 2 seasons long at the original conception because our little friend here was like, catching on. By episode, was it like 6, I think, which is, I could be wrong, everyone can tell me if I'm wrong, but I know the episode's name. It was there's probably the English name too, but it's the threatening presence case with the boy. I'm gonna say the English name because I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it was really close. Like the Funimation team was really close. I think his name was like Tamako or something, and in the English dub, his name was Tommy Oswald, and it's the kid with the kid who died to appendicitis, and the surgeon wanted to kill the doctor. And at that case, she's like, "Oh, you're so smart, Shinichi," and he's just like, "Yeah," and he goes, "Oh shit," like I ratted myself out. And at that point, it seemed like within the next 5 episodes, his identity was out. It's over. There's no coming back from it. And they just slowly melded it out. And now we get these things, and I appreciate them because they're not as forced as they always were. And we now call them Ran Suspicion arcs, where she has an arc of suspicion for a few episodes.
I wouldn't call them an arc. Those are more like rare chances where like, oh no, she is slightly like getting
But I'm just saying that's what
some actual common sense.
That's what the fan base calls it though. So like whether you want to agree with her or I want to agree with her or whatever, that's what the fans call it. They call them Ran Suspicion arcs. Whenever there is 1 to 2 episodes or more where Ran has any lick of suspicion. Because the manga gets it first before we do, so that's how we know that one's coming, and they've just been dubbed since the Ran Suspicion arcs. I think it was around that phone case where she had Conan's phone, and she wanted to unlock it. It was around that time when they dubbed the term Ran Suspicion arcs, and I appreciate them because they're more rare and they're more exciting. We could wrap it up at that. That's fine, and then we can move on to the next character. Joseph, if there's anything you want to add about our...
I do want to add. Okay, are you still recording?
Oh yeah, I was even recording when it was silent.
Okay.
So I'll just cut that out.
I'll later. Okay, yeah. All right. I do want to add to those little arcs she has because I don't know how to personally feel about her because I feel whether. She's showing some kind of intelligence to where like she would she's catching on with things like that, or like she's being a total ditz and like she's being oblivious to it sometimes. I really can't tell because of how like they I can't tell because of how they literally turn her character to where her interactions with Conan or Jimmy at the case is always like treated as a plot B kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you understand.
No, I can feel that.
Yeah. So like, I never personally ever feel invested in like whether or not the relationship actually goes anywhere, because it was kind of self-implied that like they were already dating, and everyone in the circle already kind of knew that. But like, it was either a will they or won't they kind of thing.
Yeah, and I don't want to spoil anything
So,
about the dating circle, because that's kind of one of the main watching points to see what happens there. So I'm not gonna get into that per se, because I think you know what I'm referring to.
Yeah, definitely. Probably that arc
Yeah.
or whatever.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know, but
Yeah. Also, what you call it? In terms about her character, it's pretty weird how like she's a very capable like judo fighter.
yeah. No, she's karate. Yeah. Her father and mother do judo.
Yeah. So like, her family is like women from the karate skills.
Yeah.
And yet, more often than not, she's always somehow in a damn with stress kind of moment, which is really odd.
But see, there's different. Ran, and I've noticed this probably since around movie, I think 18 is when I really started to notice, which you probably should have noticed in 17, but whatever, because that's when she almost drowns. But when she is in the moment of Shinichi, when she has that damsel in distress 1 millisecond, she becomes the weakest thing ever, and that guy practically beat the shit out of her and like shot her up. And
well, yeah, there's that, but I'm more talking about like how like to treat her character, because like like she's like like the Tom girl kind of character, because like, she's sporty, she's talkative and outgoing. She's almost basically one of the guys at this point.
Yeah.
But like, basically like how like all like the material, like, the openings, and some of the cases, they really do treat her like she's a goddamn princess, to where like in every like opening, like Gus hit her up in like some kind of like lovely dress and everything, and like she's a stereotypical like falling or like so I have nothing without Shinichi, and like I'm just sitting here waiting for him, like, wow, that is not
but the waiting for so long can do that to you. It's I don't know how to explain it, but like when you lose something and you don't have it for years. I mean, to her it hasn't even been like over a year yet, but I mean, there are things that I've waited for over 6 years, and you come down to a point where you just feel like you feel hopeless without it. Whether you felt that way before not having it. So I mean, I get it, but at the same time, it hasn't been that long. But when you're drawing the series for that long, I could see that. It's a real rock and a hard place for that.
No. With her,
but
I feel
they
like,
overextended. I can agree with that. It's a bit too much.
Yeah, definitely overextended.
Like if you look at was it Miss Mystery or Misty Mystery, the one where she's in that she's in like that white almost like wedding dress, and and Conan inflates the gigantic soccer ball and they both fall on it, and like her like breasts are practically hanging out of the dress, and I'm just like, one, I don't even think she has those in the fucking series, but all right. And it to me it's like maybe like they're also like you're trying to push more eye candy towards, I don't know, but I don't got answers.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, I don't really see the appeal of Ron in general.
Yeah. I can agree. I totally felt that way, but when they did episode 1 remake, it made me start rooting for her again, because I stopped at a certain point. Look, Sherry's mine, okay? No one can have Sherry. She's the waifu. Her adult form, want to make that clear. And at one point I was just like, I likes Conan, right? If she could have a future with Conan, she'd take it, okay? Whether she wants to be a firecracker or not, sure. But you know that she'd take it, because even at one point she even states it. Like she'd like to restart over, and we could totally live a life together type thing, and whatever. And at one point I was like, you know what? Oh, okay. And I was like,
I will say for for Ran, I think many of the traits that like I said there about her, like sadly fall to a different character because I will say that like in the show there are many clone characters.
Yeah, no,
that,
yeah,
like,
for sure. The whole Akai
that'll
family,
fall
for
to the
example. And then spoiler, skip 10 seconds ahead. You got Mary and Hybera looking exactly alike in the term when they did that comparison, and the whole thing that's just like a clone right there in of itself. But then which makes me really question Hybera's sister and Akai Shuichi, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, but like who I'm talking about in terms of like who's her clone.
Yeah. Ooko or Aoko, I don't know how you want to say it.
Kazuha.
Oh, Kazuha. Oh, her too. Yeah. No, I can see that. Yeah. No, because they both have the same exact relationship. Like, one of my favorite things that Conan does in these Ran arcs is when he comes back as Shinichi in the Shinichi arcs. And another reason why I get excited for him too, I think, is he steals almost 90% of the time. He steals one of Heji's ideas for confessing his love to Kazuha. And like in the last episode, he well, I can't say that, but he stole one of their ideas on that field trip case, and then his ass still had to drive him all the way back to Tokyo on his motorcycle. Yeah. And he's like, "You're buying me steak dinner, and I'm mad at you," type thing. And just every single time he steals a confession place that Hedge is going to use, and ruins it so he can never use it. And I don't know. I had the feeling that Hedgie's gonna probably date Kazuha before Rachel and Jimmy actually make any real form of connection, besides what has already happened. But I'm also curious back on Ran. Is she gonna know like for like a whole season, or is it only gonna be like right at the end? See,
to make it less weird, to the fact that she was living with her boyfriend in her house as a little kid.
Yeah.
No, I don't think they're going to do that. But if they do that, that'll be interesting because that's like half of what went for like years now.
Because I feel like it could be a cool dynamic for her to always know, and I'd be like, just for a short time, even if it's like 8 episodes before the climax. But this is my scene. I'm gonna jump onto Agasa now, because I wanna.
Yeah, sure. Let's get the old man out the way
because I'm about to make everyone.
He's been sidelined just as much as the series has sidelined him.
Because I'm gonna make everybody in this podcast be, what the fuck is wrong with this dude? I have a very twisted mind in the sense of how I want the series to end. Okay, Sherry's waifu, so Sherry can't die, right? Okay, great.
He's my villain.
I want Jin and Vaka to find out. I'm sure they're all going to find out, okay? I want them to find out and bomb Dr. Agasa's place to kill Sherry. It might even just be just because of Sherry, right? They might not even know about Conan or whatever. And have Sherry just not be home and Agasa dies, okay? Hear me out. I love Agasa. I might hate the new English voice, but I love Agasa, okay? And Agasa is Shinichi's best friend. Canonically, that has been stated. And I feel like it would drive the emotion to the seriousness of the climax type thing, like where like this just got personal, and I have wanted that type of ending for that to be like part of the ending, and then for him to tell Ran like in an isolated room, Men in Black everywhere, like surrounding them, and they're just like in this small little corner, maybe like a little like abandoned building or something, and they're just in one room, and he's like confessing. With danger all around them, in a sense, and that's kind of like the climactic feeling I built for myself as what I want. It comes at the expense of losing Agasa, but I feel like that would make the impact of the series. But I could be, you might have a different thought on that. But
if we're doing hypotheticals here, I would definitely would like to get one of those you never saw it coming moments to where Agasa is actually the head of the Black organization the entire time.
Okay.
That was something like I would that would totally love to see out of him because of how much little screen time he actually does get in the anime.
Yeah.
Because like he's only there whenever he needs something to be fixed or to be made, or whether not the kids are involved. And oh god, those kids.
They're warming up to me.
We're talking about the kids later, and I'm dreading it.
Oh yeah, I came up with a nickname for them growing up. So I always hated them. I hated them in the dub. I appreciate their dub now, the original dub, because of how much they're just more annoying here. But in the new dub, it's not as bad. Ayumi is pretty close to her original, and then the other two is just like, what the hell? Why would you even do that? And then but my nickname
what
for
are they called in English?
In the English it's Amy, Mitch, and George. Now I do call them Ayumi and Genta now, but I still call Mitsuhiko. I still call him to this day Mitch. He's a Mitch. He's a very classic basic. Basic's the word I use.
It's fair.
Mitch. So I call them, my nickname for them growing up, I called them the three DC Misfits. That's what I call them. And I will feel bad for them in the sense if Conan grows up. Like I'm sure he'll still be part of their life, but it won't be the same, and it feels like they just lost a friend. So that part will suck. But I also feel like I wonder if that means Hybera will... She's always talking about regrowing up. I wonder if that means that she'll grow up again and just, grow up with them. So it won't be two losses. But, like, I would like to see her get together with that soccer player or whatever that she's just infatuated in love with. Hugo or...
I will say that...
Or whatever.
I don't know his name, but I feel
it's Higo or something like that.
Higo.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a soccer player that the team that she liked.
Yeah. Big. I believe the team's Big. BIG is the name of the team.
I will say though it will suck for them like when eventually like he has to go and return back to being 16 again.
Mm-hmm.
17, I forget which one. But I will say I do not like those kids. And I'm saying this because like it's a little hypocritical to say because the main character is a kid.
Because
technically yes, he's definitely a kid, but it's a different when like he's doing it. And there's a difference when, like, they get involved because, they're kids. They don't know what they're doing.
There's some cases where I enjoyed them. Like, I enjoyed the dentist case where Ayumi was having her dentist teeth done. I don't know when this one was done. And she did a whole murder trick by putting her to sleep with anesthesia and placing her in a room that was identical and stuff like that. Like, and then, she put a deck of cards. She took one for good luck, and she put it back in the other deck of cards, not knowing it was a different deck of cards. And that's how she was caught. And stuff like that. And I like some of the cases that they're in, or the one where Mitch has that high radio or whatever frequency thing. Like I like some of the episodes and some of the unique dynamics that they could do with these kids. But a lot of times they feel like unnecessary or just like, oh my god, I hate this episode because of them. But I'm not gonna lie. As of recently, the more recent episodes with them, maybe like a little bit past the 700s. I don't mind them, and I quite enjoy them at some points, but I'm never just like, oh man, I hope the next episode is a junior detective. No. Never once in my life have I ever said that, and I never will. I'm never excited to see them.
I don't dislike them,
but I don't
dislike them. As I hate their involvement in the show.
Yeah.
So I just don't like them as characters.
And I definitely don't like them when they're so common. There are some times where you just don't get a break from them, and you have them for like 5 to 10 episodes straight. And I can't stand that. That's when I draw the limit.
And they have whole episodes dedicated to them, and it's like 2 out of the 3 kids are basically just like freaking kidnap victims because the big one and the girl always get kidnapped, or like vice versa.
So let's maybe move on to we're at a minute 28. Granted, we were disconnected twice, so probably like a minute like 14 or so, but minute hour and 14. So I don't want this to go on a bit too much longer. So let's try to hit characters that we really want to talk about, like whether it's Akai, Jody, or I think we got all the main characters out of the way. We would only have to talk about Kogoro. Kogoro and Maguire.
We gotta hit the main characters.
Yeah. So all we have left is I can think of. We have Kaido, Heiji. Kaido, Heiji. Well, I wouldn't even consider Kaido a main character, but that was one that you wanted to talk about. That's why I said it. But you have Heiji.
We have
Heiji, Maguire. Heiji, Maguire, and Richard. And you could throw in Hybera if you don't feel like we actually gave her an actual moment.
No. She definitely counts as a main character.
Okay. No, she is, because she's my favorite character. But I mean, if you already counted her as not talked about her yet, is what I'm trying to say. Because we have talked about her, but if you didn't have enough to justify and, to bring, continue talking.
I feel like we could have totally like skipped Agasa for that case, because like he has done less than like what she.
Oh no, I'm not saying that. No, I'm saying like
she's just about as sidelined as Agasa is, because of her potential, which is just wasted.
I was referring to it because we already talked about her, and when talking about the other characters. So like, if she really evaluated her own slot, is what I meant. Not really to an extent, because like she herself is a very interesting character, because like half of the plot revolves around her in general. Oh, and I gotta be very You gotta be very careful with the for the comment section here, because there are a lot of Sherry fans, in the sense of I posted the original the link to this channel in like a Sherry Discord thing, and a bunch of Sherrys can be very scary. So
I mean, I'm not gonna like downvote her or anything like that, because like I think she's pretty cool, but like I just don't like how
I get it.
The anime or the manga in this case is just like really like not using her as much as they should, because half the main plot revolves around her, because she is the creator of the drug that got changed to where he is today.
But
and,
if we're gonna
most of the later plots also revolve around the fact that she still might be alive or dead. Or
my question is back to the dub real quick. So her English name in the movies was Vi Greythorn, which once again was clever. That was taken from two detectives like Conan's name was. No problem. Okay, so the manga goes by Case Closed as well, and American sells just as well, but they're using the Funimation's English names. But for some odd reason, Hybera's name is not Vi Greythorn. I don't know what decision went on there, or whatever. Her name is Anita Haley. And I have questions. That's the only part I hate about this character. I love the character, so I'm not going to diss her in any way, shape, and or form. But that's my. If I had to come up with a gripe, that's it, and that's just a translation gripe.
It more or less sounds like something commonly seen in the Persona series, where the main character, the protagonists, are usually commonly known by different names, like the newest protagonist, Joker. He's commonly known as Joker because that's his code name for when he's like doing his
and that could be a Funimation thing, because at that time maybe Gosho didn't give him that name, and Funimation did their own research and picked him up by Greythorn, and that could be a possibility of why the names aren't. But the fact that it was clever the way they came up with the name makes me think that Funimation really do that research. I don't know, but. No, I get what you mean about the names, because I have seen that in a few mangas. Like, I don't read mangas, but I've seen that where, even though they're still done in English, they change the names. Kind of like, once again, I'm really not big into Persona, but I can't wait for that Persona game on Switch, Scrambled. But
yeah. For that game, like his name would be Ren Amamiya.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
And that came from the Persona 5 anime.
And that
after the anime, all games that will pretty much be his canon name because of the anime.
Yeah.
But
that's why I brought it up, because
in the manga,
I knew that.
Yeah, like in the manga, however, they had a different name, and that's the name that like many of the fans like to use today, which is Akira
Mhm.
Kurisu.
I was reading
Yeah,
a forum of people fighting what's his real name. I just thought it was funny. Uh,
that happens more often than you think.
so, but that's my only gripe with Hybra. I love her. She's great. And so who else we got? We got Richard. We got Richard and
Yes.
Harley. And then after
Oh
them,
yeah,
I want to talk about the Men in
and
Black.
Kaito.
And well, I'll give you Kaido, but we'll probably save Kaido for last, just to end it on a neutral note, because the Men in Black, I really want to get into that. So we got in order. We can do it. We can do it. Richard, Harley, Men in Black, Kaido. Hey guys, Apera here. I'm in the editing process, and well, we really got into a really good groove, and so we got into more, and so this will be the end of part 1. So part 2 should be up. I think I'm gonna label it as episode 2. So the next real part will be episode 3. So if you guys really enjoyed this episode, the other episode should be up right now. I'm editing them together, so it should be up, and I cannot wait to see you guys in episode 3. So go check out episode 2, and I'll catch you next time. This is your one-stop shop. Subscribe, and remember, with a keen eye for details, one truth will always prevail.